There comes a time in your life when peace becomes more important than proving a point. When your energy becomes too sacred to be spent on people who drain it. And in that moment, detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. We grow up believing that caring deeply means clinging tightly. That love means sacrifice. That connection requires constant availability, and that walking away is weakness. But life teaches us differently. There is power in caring without crumbling. There is strength in loving without losing yourself. And there is wisdom in staying calm when the world wants to provoke you. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you're heartless. It means your heart's strong. It means you've learned the hard way that not every battle deserves your presence. Not every invitation to chaos needs your RSVP. And not every comment requires a reply. When someone disrespects you, insults you, misunderstands you, you don't have to rise to the bait. You don't have to defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Silence can be your armor, stillness your revenge. Understand this. Reaction is their control. Detachment is your freedom. If someone can trigger you, they control you. If every insult pulls you in, you're not living free, you're living at the mercy of others. Let them gossip. Let them twist your truth. Let them walk away. Let them. Because your peace is not up for negotiation anymore. Detachment is not walking away from people. It's walking back to yourself, to your boundaries, to your sanity, to your strength. And staying calm, that's not weakness. That's self-mastery. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't react, doesn't break character when the script gets messy. You have to protect your peace like it's a priceless treasure, because it is. And not everyone deserves front row access to your soul. Some people only love the chaos they can create in you. Stop performing for their applause. Start healing in their silence. So the next time someone tries to draw you into drama, remember this. I don't respond to noise. I respond and then walk away with grace, with dignity, with the power of someone who has nothing to prove. Because calm isn't weakness, it's evolution. It's knowing that the loudest war is the one inside and you've already won it. Emotional detachment, heartlessness. We live in a world that often confuses emotional detachment with cruelty. They'll say, you've changed, or you don't care anymore, simply because you stopped picking up every broken piece they handed you. But the truth is, you didn't change to become colder. You changed because you finally decided to stop burning yourself just to keep someone else warm. Detachment is not a lack of emotion. It is not indifference. It is not about building walls around your heart. It's about finally realizing you deserve to feel safe within it. You can still love someone and not let them tear you apart. You can still forgive someone without allowing them back into the spaces they abused. You can still grieve what was and still choose peace over pain. Because emotional detachment is not walking away out of hate, it's walking away because your heart was never meant to be a battlefield. There's a difference between giving love and being used in the name of love. There's a difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. You can be compassionate and still create space. You can be understanding and still set boundaries. You can wish someone well and still choose never to let them near your soul again. The moment you stop over-explaining your worth, the moment you stop waiting for them to value your softness, that's when detachment begins. Not as an act of revenge, but as an act of self-rescue. You're not cold. You're careful now. You're not bitter. You're better from the lessons. You're not heartless. You're just finally prioritizing the only heart you've been entrusted with, your own. You've stopped giving CPR to relationships that were never breathing. You've stopped handing over your peace like it's disposable. You've stopped bleeding for people who couldn't even stay to clean the wound. And that's not selfish, that's survival. So when they say you're different, say thank you. Because that difference is the reason you now sleep in peace. That difference is why your soul no longer feels like it's constantly on fire. That difference is your healing finally choosing you. Emotional detachment is not about closing your heart. It's about opening it to yourself for the very first time. Protect your energy. Your energy is not infinite. Your emotional bandwidth has limits. And every single day, you're either spending it with intention or leaking it into places that were never meant to hold you. You were not born to constantly explain yourself to people who refuse to listen. You were not created to carry other people's insecurities like they're your responsibility. And you were never meant to burn yourself out, proving your worth to people who cannot even see it. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's sacred. It's knowing the difference between being kind and being exploited. It's recognizing that constantly being available to everyone means being available to no one, especially not yourself. You don't have to reply to every message the moment it comes. You don't have to rush to fix everyone's emotions when they fall apart. You don't have to attend every fight that rings your name like a bell. Let them think you're distant. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed, because you have. You've started valuing your peace more than their opinions. And that is growth. Ask yourself who drains you when they call, what environments leave you feeling smaller than when you entered, which loyalties are really just emotional obligations masked as love. The answers will teach you where your energy has been bleeding out. They will reveal where your soul has been giving too much, too often, too freely. And the moment you stop giving people unlimited access to your inner world, you start to see clearly some people only loved your brokenness because it made them feel whole. They fed off your emotional labor. They depended on your exhaustion. They needed you weak to feel strong, but no more. You are allowed to take your energy back. You are allowed to stop being the bigger person when it only keeps you small. You are allowed to say, this conversation doesn't serve me. This space drains me. This connection has expired. You are allowed to walk away without guilt, without apology, without explanation. Because the more you pour into people and places that cannot pour back, the further you move away from your purpose. The more tired you become, the more resentful you feel. And before long, you forget what peace feels like because you've been too busy giving it away. So protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. The people who are meant for you will never require you to shrink, to suffer, or to burn out just to feel seen. They will respect your silence. They will honor your no. They will value your boundaries as much as they value your presence. Remember, you are not rude. You are just finally unreachable to what used to break you. And that's not being cold, that's being free. Control your reactions. There are people in this world who don't seek connection, they seek control. And the easiest way to control you is to control your reaction. They'll poke at your insecurities. They'll twist your words. They'll test your patience, not because they misunderstand you, but because they want to prove they can still shake you. And every time you explode in anger, collapse in tears, or lash back with bitterness, you hand them the one thing they crave most: power over your peace. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit: if they can trigger you, they can steer you. Your reaction becomes their victory. Your emotional spiral becomes their entertainment. They don't care about the damage, only the control. But the moment you choose not to react, the moment you pause instead of explode, breathe instead of scream, observe instead of defend, you change everything. You take the power back. You become untouchable. You stop being a puppet to their manipulation and start becoming the master of your own emotional kingdom. Reaction is instinct. Response is intelligence. Anyone can react. That's easy. That's emotional reflex. But the strong, the wise, the healed, they respond. They assess. They wait. They speak when it adds value, not when it adds noise. Controlling your reactions doesn't mean suppressing your truth. It means expressing it with intention, not as a weapon. You learn to respond with silence instead of sarcasm. Walk away instead of argue for hours. Smile at provocations that once shook you to your core. Not because you've become passive, because you've become powerful. When someone presses a button in you and nothing happens, They start to realize they no longer have access. They no longer own space in your mind. They no longer have permission to pull you into their storm, because you're not trying to win arguments anymore. You're trying to win yourself back. Remember this, every reaction costs you something: your time, your peace, your energy, and the price is rarely worth it. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remind yourself silence is strength, restraint is power, stillness is supremacy. Let them think you're weak because you didn't fight back. Let them call you cold because you walked away. Let them assume they've won. They haven't, you did. Because in mastering your reaction, you just mastered the part of yourself they were trying to control. And nothing is more dangerous to those who feed off chaos than someone who has learned to stay calm in the middle of it. Choose silence over drama. In a world addicted to noise, stillness is an act of defiance. We live in a culture where loud is mistaken for strong, where whoever shouts the most is seen as winning, and whoever stays calm is called weak or worse, uninterested. But here's the truth. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom, because sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Let them rant. Let them twist stories. Let them throw their tantrums, launch their accusations, stir their drama. Let them talk while you walk. Because you've realized something they haven't yet. Not every invitation deserves your attendance. Silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's you choosing peace over pride. It's you refusing to let their chaos disturb your clarity. It's you stepping back, not because you can't fight, but because you're choosing not to bleed where there is no healing. You see, drama demands your energy. It feeds off your attention. It multiplies when you argue, defend, explain, but silence as silence starves it. Silence interrupts the pattern. Silence removes the fuel and lets the fire die on its own. Remember, you don't have to match their tone. You don't have to defend every rumor. You don't have to explain your piece to people committed to misunderstanding it. When words become weapons, silence becomes your shield, because silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the storm. It means you're choosing not to step into it. That is power. That is maturity. That is emotional intelligence. Let them wonder why you didn't respond. Let them question your silence, because the truth is you've elevated to a level where drama can no longer reach you. You've become unbothered, unreachable, unshakable, because the one who stays calm wins. The one who controls their energy rules. And the one who can sit in a storm quietly without flinching owns the storm. Final thought, your silence is not the absence of power. It's the presence of it. And when they finally realize they can no longer trigger you, control you, or pull you into their chaos, that's when they feel the true weight of your silence. So stay calm, stay grounded, stay silent, not because you're weak, but because you're finally too powerful to be pulled into anything less than peace. Your peace is priceless. There comes a time in your life when you realize that peace is not just a feeling, it's a decision, a boundary, a quiet space within you that you fought hard to build. It's not just about silence. It's about being untouched by chaos you didn't create. It's about choosing what and who gets to enter your emotional world. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire just to keep others warm. You are not required to carry people who refuse to walk beside you. And you are absolutely not responsible for fixing someone else's storms, especially if they bring their thunder into your calm. Let's be honest. Some people only show up when they need something. Some only stay as long as you're useful. And some only love you when you're silent enough for them to stay comfortable. But here's the truth. If someone costs you your peace, if being around them feels like walking on glass, if your spirit feels heavy every time they enter the room, then they are far too expensive. Set boundaries, not walls, but gates. Gates you control. Gates that open for respect and close for disrespect. You don't need to apologize for protecting your energy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for walking away from drama. You don't need to justify choosing yourself, because peace is not passive, it's powerful. It's the loudest strength in a world addicted to noise. And it often comes when you stop chasing and start discerning. Not everyone who knocks should be let in. Let them wonder why the gate stayed closed. Let them learn that access is earned, not assumed. Let them learn that losing you means losing the calm they once took for granted. And if you must choose between keeping the peace in someone else's world or protecting the peace in your own, choose yourself every time, because your peace, it's not just a luxury, it's your lifeline, it's sacred, it's priceless. Walk away with grace. There will be moments in life when silence is your loudest answer. When you stop arguing, stop begging to be understood, and instead you choose to rise. You don't slam the door. You don't shout back. You simply walk away. And not because you're angry, not because you want to hurt anyone, but because you finally understand you were never meant to stay in places where your soul couldn't breathe. Not everyone will understand your silence. They'll say you changed. They'll say you turned your back. But they'll never mention how loud the room became when you were the only one listening, the only one giving, the only one breaking yourself to keep the peace. You owe them no explanation for your growth. You owe yourself the freedom to expand. Because sometimes healing means leaving. Sometimes loving yourself means choosing distance. Sometimes peace comes wrapped in goodbye. Some people only celebrated your presence when it served them. Some only stayed close when you were quiet and compliant. When you stopped pouring endlessly into their emptiness, they called you distant. When you stopped allowing the disrespect, they called you difficult. When you stopped showing up for what was slowly destroying you, they called you selfish. But let them call you what they will. Let them create their stories. Let them speak in rooms you no longer enter. You are not walking away to punish them. You're walking away to protect yourself, to protect the soft places within you that were never meant to be trampled, to honor the version of you that kept showing up long after she should have let go. Grace isn't always gentle. Sometimes grace is choosing not to explain what took everything in you to survive. Sometimes grace is leaving without closure, because peace becomes more important than proving your point. Because not all battles are yours to fight, and not all people are meant to be part of your forever. This isn't bitterness. This is clarity. This is choosing quiet strength over loud validation. This is knowing your worth without requiring anyone else to confirm it. You don't have to burn bridges. Just stop lighting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You don't have to hate them. Just love yourself enough to walk away. So walk with your back straight and your heart soft, with no resentment in your hands and no weight on your shoulders. Let your silence echo louder than their noise. Let your peace speak for itself. You're not leaving because you're cold. You're leaving because you finally believe you deserve warmth. And when people ask what happened, tell them nothing. You simply outgrew the chaos. You simply chose yourself. You simply walked away with grace. Self-mastery is strength. There is a difference between holding the reins and becoming the horse, between forcing the world to bend and letting it reveal its curve. Anyone can shout commands, wave fists at the sky, demand attention like oxygen. Noise is cheap. Control is hungry. It devours every room it enters, desperate to prove its own importance. But mastery slips in like sunrise, no announcement, no applause, just an undeniable presence that changes everything it touches. True strength is the tempered blade kept sheathed. It is choosing stillness while storms tear the horizon. It is hearing the insult, feeling the sting, and deciding not to bleed rage into the air. Because reaction is easy, refinement is art. Mastery is breathing in chaos and exhaling clear direction. It is knowing the fire within you is hotter than the fire around you, yet refusing to scorch what you love just to prove you can. It's the athlete who trains in silence so the stadium can erupt later. The leader who listens longer than they speak, aware that wisdom echoes louder than any microphone. The healer who holds space for pain without drowning in it, offering light without demanding credit. When your peace no longer wavers at the sound of applause or the hiss of disdain, when your pulse stays steady while others chase every pulse of drama, you have crossed from control into mastery. And mastery is not the absence of feeling. It is the discipline of directing feeling. Anger becomes fuel, not wildfire. Sadness becomes depth, not a pit. Joy becomes presence, not performance. So be unshakable, not because life grows soft, but because your spirit has grown strong enough to meet its hardness with grace. Stand still when the world seeks to sway you. Speak softly when the crowd demands a roar. Move with intention, not impulse. For the smallest measured step of a master reverberates longer than 1,000 frantic strides. Remember, control wants to be noticed. Mastery doesn't need to be. Choose the quiet path of the steady heart, and you will find the power that noise can never hold. Detach to return to yourself. There comes a time in your life when you stop reaching outward and begin reaching inward. A time when your soul grows tired of stretching itself to meet expectations it never agreed to. Tired of proving, explaining, pleasing. Tired of performing roles that don't fit the shape of your spirit. So you begin to detach, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about the one thing you've been neglecting yourself. You realize that detachment is not abandonment. It's not a door slammed in anger. It's a doorway gently closed in reverence. A sacred return to the only place that has ever truly felt like home, your own heart. You stop chasing validation like it's air. You stop answering every call that drains you. You stop entering conversations that always end with you doubting your own truth. And in that quiet surrender, you begin to feel something rare. Peace. Not the fleeting peace that depends on someone else's approval, but the kind that comes from being centered, grounded, whole. You detach not to punish them, but to rescue you. You no longer feel the need to defend your silence, to explain your distance, to justify your healing. You understand now you were never meant to carry everyone. You were never meant to be understood by those still unwilling to understand themselves. And you were never meant to give your entire soul just to be invited into someone else's. Detachment is the quiet revolution of self-love. It is how you soften your grip on what was never yours to hold. It is how you stop tying your worth to how loud you are, how needed you are, how available you are. You begin to walk differently, not away from the world, but toward yourself. Each step a return to the values you once silenced to be like. Each breath a reminder that peace is your natural state, not a reward to be earned. The noise fades. The pressure fades. The ache to be seen fades. And in the stillness that remains, you finally hear the voice that had been whispering all along. This is who you are. Welcome home. You realize you don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to shrink to keep someone comfortable. You don't have to fix what's broken in others just to feel worthy of love. The only thing you must do is remember. Remember the girl or boy you were before life told you to become someone else. Remember the way your heart beat before it was broken. Remember the softness you had just to survive, because detachment is not a closing. It is an opening, a return, a shedding of everything false so that everything real can rise again. You are not running. You are realigning. You are not escaping. You are remembering. So let go, not in bitterness, but in deep compassion. Let go, not because you're giving up, but because you're coming home to your breath, to your body, to your truth, to the self that's been waiting patiently for you to return. That's what detachment is, not a loss, but a reunion. You don't need to be loud to be heard, because the loudest voices often echo the deepest insecurities. Real strength whispers. It speaks through presence, through composure, through the quiet conviction of someone who knows exactly who they are. You don't need to fight to prove your worth, because your worth was never a battlefield. It was never up for debate. You are not a war to be won. You are a truth to be honored. And you don't need to hold on to what's hurting you just to show that you care. Love doesn't mean staying in pain. Loyalty doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. You can love from a distance. You can care without collapse. You can walk away and still have compassion in your heart. Emotional detachment isn't numbness. It's the art of choosing yourself without guilt. It's learning how to respond instead of react. It's standing still when everything around you begs for your chaos. Staying calm in a storm doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been through storms before. It means you've learned that not every wave deserves your ship. It means you've discovered a deeper kind of power, one that doesn't need to control the world to feel secure in it. So take your peace seriously. Guard it like it's sacred, because it is. Live in it like it's your home, because it should be. And never, ever feel guilty for putting your inner world first. Because once you've tasted peace, once you've fought for your stillness, once you've chosen yourself in the face of noise and pressure and expectation, you become unshakable. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You simply become rooted, calm, aligned. And in that calm, you become a mirror, a light, a quiet force. Not because you are unaffected, but because you are no longer available for anything that steals your soul's softness. So remember this. The strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to be seen. The loudest power is the one that speaks without raising its voice. And the highest form of love is the one you give to yourself when you finally say, "This peace is mine, and I won't lose it for anyone." That's not just healing, that's mastery. That is the power of calm.